Alright, so now we're going to be working on mission number 4, Joyride. This one's a little bit more of a creativity challenge, so I'll get you guys started, but you'll have to finish it up on your own. So for this one, the goal is to fly your CoDrone without using your joysticks. So you have to get kind of creative and use all the buttons that we have available. There are 7 along the bottom that are digital sensors and 3 along the top that are analog sensors. So we'll go ahead and get started and figure out how we can do this. So to begin with, we need to include in the CoDrone library, so that way we have all the background files that we need. Next, we need to take care of all our setup stuff. So we need to begin the connection to the CoDrone at 11:52:00. So this just gets the connection to the Bluetooth board going. And once we have that going, we can do a auto connect to a nearby drone, and that'll get everything connected up and ready to go for us. So once we've got that done, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and read all of the available sensors to us, and then we'll figure out what we'll do with them later. So we have the 7 digital sensors, and if you notice we don't have 15, so it goes from 14 to 16. That's because 14 and 15 actually come together onto the same sensor, so we're just going to use 14 and skip 15. And then we also have the 3 analog sensors. So these ones, unlike the digital ones that we've mostly been using before, the digitals give us 0 or 1, so they're very easy to know if it's pressed. The analog sensors give us a range of values from 0 all the way up to 1023. And the closer they are, the smaller number they get. So if we're using these, it'll be a little bit more tricky, but you could also do some things with, depending on the distance away that they see. Typically, if your finger's covering it, they read somewhere around like 50 or so, and if it's not getting covered, they read more like 500. So you don't quite get that full range, but it kind of gives you a little bit of a range to work with. Alright, so we'll go ahead and we'll get started. We'll try we'll start with just kind of a basic one. So for this, what we're going to do is, a lot of them are going to look like this. We're going to use save button 4 as our kill switch, so that'll be that very middle one. So we'll get to that in just a second. So we'll just go through for the digital ones and do things like this. So if button 1 and button 8 are pressed, and button 2 and 7 are not pressed, then we'll go ahead and do something. So in this case, I'm going to make that be my throttle. So if I press the outer 2, but not the next 2 in, then we'll take off. And then we'll just kind of add in another one, so we'll do like else if, we'll check. So if button 1 is pressed, but not button 8, and button 2, but not button 7, so it'll be like the left 2 sensors are being covered, we'll go roll negative. And then we'll do the opposite, forget the positive roll. So do if the rightmost button and the button just in from it are pressed, that will roll to the right. So we can go through and do a bunch of them like this, and make sure at the end we'll do a CoDrone.control to get things to actually send the commands that we want. And at the very end, we're also going to need to check our kill switch. So we'll check if button 4 is pressed, which we're going to save just for this. If it is, then we're going to do a stop. That way we stop flying. So I have the examples of how to use the digital sensors. Now let's toss one in that'll be for the analogs. So for the analog sensors, what we need to do is we need to check to see if they're less than a certain value. So in this case, what I did was I checked to see if A1 or AT1 is less than 200. So it'll be that left top sensor, and if it sees something close, it'll set it to full throttle. So we can go through and we can kind of combine some of these together. We can say like if the bottom, the rightmost button is pressed and the left top sensor is being pressed and stuff like that. So you can try to figure out how you can do all of your different directions and controls. One of the examples that we have, I'll just finish this one up here, is in addition we also have our positive pitch if you are pressing the inside 2 of the outer ones, like the one just in from the left and just in from the right. We'll have it go forward for that. And if none of those ones are being pressed, we'll set throttle to -40. So the idea for this one is it'll be a little bit more of kind of like the Flappy Bird idea, where it'll kind of always be going down, so you have to keep hitting the throttle back up again, either with like AT1, or you could use the outer 2 buttons to give it some throttle up, so then you're kind of bouncing around. So you can go through and try to figure out how you can get all the controls you need from your available buttons.